Good evening and welcome to October 21st, 2021 Board of Education meeting. I'd like to welcome everyone here tonight. At this time, I'd like to ask Mr. Juan Kraft to lead us in the invocation.
Thank you. So I'll be reading from Life is Better at the Beach. After a relaxing day by the water, your feet are probably covered with tiny grains of sand. In order not to track a sandbox worth of sand in your home or worse into your bed, you rinse off your feet before walking inside. The Bible talks about feet numerous times, and one of the best-known stories involves Jesus and the disciples. More specifically, Jesus washed his followers' feet, which in those times was an extreme posture of servanthood and humility. Jesus washed his disciples' feet free of grime and sand and the elements, and he did it because he loved them. The thought of washing others' feet may make you feel uncomfortable, and it's not done often in today's culture, but you can still live with a servant's heart. It could be a big step, like volunteering at your church or your school or a local mission, but being a servant can simply mean a change in your mindset. Instead of grumbling about the sink of dishes your spouse was supposed to wash, grab a sponge and clean them as a simple act of love. When your neighbor's loose trash flies into your yard, pick it up and throw it away without a complaint. If you see someone in need of help, stop to lend a hand instead of thinking, I don't have time. Sometimes a loving act can mean biting your tongue instead of blurting out a harsh retort. When you serve others in humility, you're washing their feet. You're showing them Christ and his character. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Kraft. Ms. Brandy Kelly, our principal at Moyock Elementary, is going to have a few of her students lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Love to introduce Max and Drew Popovich. They're going to lead us in the pledge.
Okay.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to have you with us tonight. Next, we ask that Ms. Jamie Miller come forward. She's the Director of Exceptional Children, and she would like to give out an award for our Exceptional Teacher of the Year.
Yes, thank you. Madam Chairman and other members of the board, it is my honor to be here tonight to recognize the Educator of Excellence for the Exceptional Children's Department this school year. This is a nomination that administrators across the district get to choose teachers from their school that they think would be worthy of this award, and then district level staff vote on this. This year, Miss Mackenzie Popovich was chosen as our Educator of Excellence. She is an EC teacher at Moyock Elementary School, and she is very deserving of this award. She is thorough, but for all the right reasons, not just to check the compliance boxes in the world of EC, but because she truly wants to know her students and meet the needs of the whole student. And she's just pleasant. To know her is to love her, whether you're her student, her colleague, or her administrator. She's wonderful, and she's a great addition to our EC department. And I have Miss Reynolds, who would like to also share a few words.
Yes, on behalf of Moyock Elementary School, we are so excited to be here talking about Mackenzie Popovich today, and that she's going to be representing Currituck County as the EC Excellence Teacher of the Year. Just like Mrs. Miller said, we have had nothing but wonderful things to say about Mackenzie since she's joined our team last year. She is a phenomenal educator. Her lessons in her classroom are extremely engaging. Her students are having fun learning, and she is top-notch collaborator. She has a wealth of knowledge, and she's willing to share it with any other teacher, whether that's a general education teacher or a special education teacher. It's amazing. And I have also had the pleasure of attending no less than about 100 IEP meetings with her in her short year and a half at Moyock Elementary. That's not a joke. And she leads an IEP meeting like no other. She makes every parent feel heard. She makes every teacher feel heard. Every team member in the room gets to participate in the meeting. She's knowledgeable and she explains the entire process to the parent. And at the end of the meeting, that parent feels like the best decisions are being made for their child. So we are really, really lucky to have Mackenzie Popovich at our school.
To have a small gift to give her as a token of our appreciation, and then she's also invited to attend the EC Fall Conference in Greensboro this November. She'll have paid registration by the state, where she will receive her formal award in recognition at the state level. Oh, sure.
Congratulations, Mackenzie. What an honor. Congratulations.
Thank you so much, everybody. Thank you.
Okay, Ms. Brandy Kelly.
Thank you so much. Let me get this slideshow presented. So for our spotlight this month, we thought we would go big because, well, that kind of exemplifies Moyac. We are big right now. Have lots of students, lots of love, lots of incredible staff members, as you can see from Mrs. Popovich. So I wanted to start, first of all, Ms. Reynolds and I have a couple of different parts in this slideshow, but we wanted to start with a glimpse at the past.
Oh, wow.
So I found this picture from the UNC Chapel Hill Library. Notice the car in the front. That's pretty incredible. This, of course, was the building that was there before there was a fire in the 1940s, so this was around the 1920s. And then this is another glimpse of the photo. I thought it was really interesting, especially with the concrete and how close it was to the street. But the building now looks very similar to that. So this is an aerial photo that was taken not long ago when the board had a video made and it's posted on the website. But this is present day. It's interesting. Ms. Reynolds and I saw this and we said, the building's red in the back? We didn't realize that. But it's a beautiful photo and a glimpse of the campus, and I think it captures just the space, and it definitely doesn't capture the love that goes into the building. But just to show you, that's present day. And then, of course, here we are now. So in doing this, I also figured, I guess I knew I could have used the mouse. It's right here. We also figured there were challenges. There are always challenges in a school year. Any time that you have lots of people in one place, whether it's students, teachers, staff members, there are going to be challenges. And of course, post-pandemic, mid-pandemic, where we are now, the challenges are going to be extra magnified. So I thought I'd share the challenges and then also share some of the things that we're working on to address the challenges. So the first one is ensuring that quality product is delivered to a growing student population. And of course, as discussed in the work session, it's limited space at this time. We do have a solution in place, so that's coming and we're very excited about it. So what are we doing about those challenges? One is we are taking the school improvement team and we're focusing all of our energy on that part of it. How do we keep the quality of Moyac Elementary School high up in caliber? How do we do that while also growing and having limited space? So that's our goal one of school improvement, and that is what we focus on every single month as a team. The other thing is the curriculum team from the district is going to speak later, and they're going to share with you a lot of the things the district is doing to help us and to support our teachers in their curriculum focus. But one of the things we do at the school level as part of that is the teachers meet weekly with the curriculum coach to plan effective instruction. We have the pleasure of having Helen Taylor, who's behind me, who's very humble and is probably mad at me for calling her out, but she's an incredible addition to Moyac, and she helps teachers every single week to plan instruction that's rigorous and balanced, and she supports them as well. And so then the other part of that is continuing that culture that values the collaborative sharing of best practices. This one's new. The other focus that we're doing is that intentional focus on supporting military families. I was shocked when I pulled this from Power School that 52% of our student population, so we are about 677 at this point, 52% of our MES students are militarily connected. That's pretty huge. That's increased in the last couple of years. I think a lot of the families that are moving into the area, they are connected to the military. So because of that, I really feel like, and the school improvement team agrees with me, that we should focus on how to support those students. John Hattie, I love some John Hattie. That's one of the researchers that we're studying in our school improvement team. He talks about how transitions and changes that students going from school to school, it actually hurts their education. It gets them behind. So as a school improvement team, we're trying to help them to counteract that. How can we improve that, even though a student moving from school to school, they can't help that part of it? So those are some of the solutions. Here's some of the examples. One is our K-1 classes are doing lots of I can statements. That's basically taking the standards and it's putting it in student-friendly language. In second grade through fifth grade, they're doing performance-based learning objectives where we're using the vocabulary from the standard in all kindergarten through fifth grade, but in second through fifth grade, we're going more in depth and we're highlighting the vocabulary, and we're doing it with the students at a young age. Here's some other examples of, this is our literacy block, and so we do a Daily 5 setup and protocol, and part of Daily 5 is doing a read to self time, so students learn to take a text as early as kindergarten, and they are learning to read on their own so they can comprehend that text and really understand what's going on in the book. In math, we're really focusing on manipulatives. We're using math talk, high rigorous and a level of talk, helping the students to lead the discussions themselves, and then teaching them how to agree and disagree all on their own. And so that is hard sometimes for teachers to step back and let the kids lead the instruction, but it's so important. It really is so important so that they really understand what's going on in their brain when they're learning math. Dreambox is a big part of that, so it's a supplementary resource that the district has purchased for us the last couple of years, and we are a little bit competitive at Moyoc, and so we have classroom competitions with students and classes against classes, and we say, hey, how many of you guys can increase your average lessons per week? How many of you can get it up? And you'd be surprised the momentum that gets us. This is an example of one of the science experiments that we did in one of our specials classes, actually. And so this is actually after school we were reenacting it. This is some of our staff students doing this. But this is a volcano experiment, and I'm actually going to have my friend Drew come up and tell us all about this.
My teacher, Miss Fawnley, she's my special teacher. She read us a book called My Mouth is a Volcano, and we got to see her make a volcano with baking soda and vinegar.
Thank you, Drew. So that's one of our specials classes at this time called STREAM, and the kids really, really enjoy it. They do a lot of reading and art and some science. So that's an example of that. In writing, students actually do writer's workshop, is what it's from Lucy Calkins' curriculum, and the kids really get a kick out of being in their own author's chair. So they are actually up in the front typically, and they get a spotlight being able to share their work in front of the class. A lot of times, you know, students, especially that young, really get excited about sharing their work. So if you give them a platform where they know that they're going to share their work at a certain time every week, they know that that's coming, and so they can really become animated, and some become more than others. We also have, we've had an intentional focus on science experiments and making them more hands-on, so that science is not just something that's learned from a textbook or online. We take that material, we take the standards, and then we have them actually in person, and we do as many things hands-on as possible, and the kids really learn from that. This is an example of a fourth grade classroom. The first week of school, actually, they did this. This was an example of collaborative group, of course, but they do a lot of those science experiments. It gets messy, and the custodians don't always love us for it, but it really helps them to learn the instruction. So I want to have Miss Reynolds, our assistant principal. She's going to tell us about Goal 2, because she's all in charge of Goal 2, and she does a wonderful job of it.
Well, thank you. So for goal 2, so even with all these wonderful things going on across the school, we have noticed that there have been some achievement and academic gaps, basically from COVID-19 and some of the school closures and the times out of the classroom. So we're looking at how can we address that at the school level. And so solutions to that challenge really is for the school improvement team. We're focusing on trying to close those gaps for students that are maybe below grade level in some areas. So we're working closely with Mrs. Brittany Bearfield, who's our district MTSS leader. She's been working with us to help us really maximize our Panther Power Up time. Panther Power Up time is like a 45-minute block of time that's outside the core so that students during that time can work on anything from a remediation side all the way up to an enrichment side. So there's all kinds of different services that are provided during that 45-minute block, and any student that's receiving any of those services isn't missing any regular class time to do that. So they could be EC services, OT, PT, speech. It could be AIG services with our AIG teacher, or this classroom teacher does some interventions and works with our interventionist TA, Mrs. Julia Sarver, to do some extra interventions as well. And so then we meet monthly as a team to discuss the progress that's being made and what interventions we need to change. And we meet every 6 to 8 weeks with Mrs. Bearfield to look at that data and analyze any problem solving that we're going to do for students so that we can continue to serve each student individually at their unique needs. And what that might look like in a classroom is that not everybody's doing the same thing at the same time. You've got some students at a table working with a teacher on an intervention or a skill to kind of close that gap. Other students working independently at their seats, maybe some working together on an activity, or even just sitting on the carpet and reading a book. So that's kind of the range of things that you might see at that time. I'll get back to Ms. Kelly.
And then goal 3 is one of my favorites. We actually have Mrs. Williams and Mrs. Rhodes back at the school. They are in charge of what we call the social committee. It's had 3 different names over the last couple of years. But basically, when you take some research, again, referring back to John Hattie's number 1 effect size, it says what makes a difference in school. He talks about teacher efficacy, and I'm going to talk about that on the next slide. But that was really the stem of goal 3 of our school improvement team. And so our solution to that is, well, let's pour all of our efforts for our school improvement team for goal 3 into strengthening our school culture. School culture can make or break a performance in a building. You can have great test scores 1 year, but the next year, if the morale of the school goes down as a staff, the scores are going to go down too. Same thing for students. So part of that effort is to make sure that we recruit strong, talented teachers, and that is early. And I might have mentioned that MOYAC's competitive. I'm competitive a little bit too. And so we like to find the best and the brightest, and we have them at MOYAC. We want them here because those are the ones that are going to be in front of our children teaching every day. And so I have found, this one's actually one right here, Ms. Popovich, word of mouth from existing staff is the best way to recruit. So I always tell our staff, if you know someone looking for a great teaching place to be, come to MOYAC Elementary. So they let them know. They let them know in October, November, December. And so for the next school year, we try to get them in our school, get them interviewed, get them in. And then the other part is developing and maintaining community partnerships. That is also a key to a strong school culture, is making sure you've got great community partnerships all around you. And I had to put this on here. Substitutes are always wanted, by the way. This one talks about what I was referring to earlier with teacher efficacy. Collective teacher efficacy just means, so if you look at this graph, you've got the red, the yellow, the orange, the green, and the blue. So green, right there about 0.4, or starting with the blue, that is about an average year's worth of growth, or an average impact on a student's performance. We want to see them above that, especially when we're in a pandemic and post-pandemic. We want to make sure sure that teachers have even more effect on students. And so the number one effect size actually talks about collective teacher efficacy, and that just means getting teachers together, making sure that they plan together, and then they believe that they really can change a child's life and that they can help improve performance. And so our teachers believe this. Our curriculum coach helps us with this through PLCs, and then we all do it together. It's a team. And then this is an example of just this Friday, we had a Kinder Community Helper Day. This was actually organized by one of our Kinder teachers, Mrs. Pritchett. Another example was Batman, of course, came to help. And I've skipped some slides. I don't know where my pictures went. So community helper, what's missing is the fire department. Sorry, that was a picture of the fire department. This one was a picture of the sheriff with a canine dog. The sheriff's department has been a huge partner in this, especially as well as the fire department. The sheriff's department passed out canine cards last year, and we use those canine cards to our advantage. We use those as rewards. Batman himself insisted on going from class to class to class, so we visited every single class, which means the teachers were caught off guard and we're going, oh my goodness, what are you doing? Get them riled up and then leave. And it was fun though, because students really did strive to earn a canine card. That helped them push over the edge to getting that 40 books for the 40 book challenge or meeting Dreambox goals. And so we plan on continuing this. In fact, Batman will be at our fall festival just tomorrow afternoon from 5 to 8. And then I wanted to end with this. So this is because of you and because of the Board of Commissioners. This is what we all have to look forward to. We have this picture hanging right outside our office. Ms. Reynolds put that there as going, okay, here's our focus. This is what we have to look forward to. So by 2023, this is what we hope to see, to welcome more Panther leaders and to keep growing. Thank you very much. Thanks for your time.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Kelly and Ms. Reynolds. We appreciate everything you do. Tonight, you may see we have a lot of distinguished guests in our audience. And I'd like to welcome Preston Mullins and his Boy Scout troop, Troop 127, here with us tonight. Thank you for being here, guys. Public comment session. The public comment session is a time when an individual or a group can address the board about our schools. This is not a time to speak about issues or concerns involving identifiable personnel or students. Matters of this nature should be submitted in writing to the superintendent, and your concerns will be addressed. Individuals or groups will be called in the order in which they signed up and will be asked to limit their remarks to 3 minutes. We had one individual sign up tonight, Mr. Jeffrey Sodoma. If you would come forward, please. And if you would, state your name and your current address.
Hello, I'm Jeff Sodoma. My address is 101 Stepside, Steppeside Lane in Moyock, 27958. First of all, I just wanted to say thank you very much to the Transportation Department for working to establish bus stops in the Glenmore community. Right before school started, that was an issue that kind of vexed everybody for a few days, and we've got buses in there now, and they're picking up students, including my daughter, who's 5, who goes to the elementary school. Second of all, I just wanted to, I saw the item on the agenda tonight to discuss the mask, what's going on with the masking requirements in schools, and I wanted to register my opposition to just continuing that. I guess we'll see what happens with the discussion tonight here at the meeting. Anecdotally, I would just like to say that we've noticed some, I don't want to call them disabilities, but speech difficulties, picking up speech with our daughter, and kind of trying to fix that on our own, and with the help of the school district. But I think the masks are not really helping, and particularly in the younger grades. And I'm hopeful that we can get that requirement waived or gotten rid of that soon. I also wanted to, I understand this is not a question and answer period, but I also wanted to inquire as to what the plan was in the school district level as far as when the vaccine would be required, or if it would be required for 5 to 11-year-olds. I understand it's not approved yet by FDA, CDC, all these people, but just wanted to see what the thought process was on where we stood on that. So that's all I have for tonight. Thank you.
Thank you so much for being here. Appreciate it. Do I have a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Motion carries. Our student board members, we have with us tonight Albert Mercado and Daniel Walker. Who would like to go first?
I'll be starting us
All
tonight.
right, thank you, Daniel.
Good evening, everyone. Albert and I have the pleasure of sharing all the exciting happenings that have taken place throughout our school system over the last month. So I'd like to start with Central Elementary School. We are busy getting ready for Title I night on October 28th. Students are invited to wear their favorite book character or Halloween costumes. We will be sharing reading information to parents. Everyone is welcome to join in and enjoy fall activities and delicious food from 5:30 to 7:30. Our building is looking amazing with all the student activities and decorations showcasing our genre adventure. We are getting ready for Red Ribbon Week starting on Monday, October 25th, and have lots of fun things planned. Currituck County High School. We had a successful homecoming week at CCHS. Congratulations to our CCHS Marching Knights who completed this Saturday at the Panther Band Classic at Pasquotank High School in Elizabeth City. Great job, CCHS Knights. Currituck County Middle School. Our library raised over $1,300 in scholastic dollars during our book fair, allowing CCMS to buy an additional 40 to 50 books to add to our collection. And I must say, my mom's pretty happy about that. Our chorus sang the national anthem for the first time at our last football game. And Red Ribbon Week is scheduled for the next week, where students will celebrate Spirit Week starting Monday the 25th. Griggs Elementary School. We had a great visit with Weston Kirschnick on September 29th. I want to give a big shout out to our participating teachers, Ms. Tara Brinkley, Ms. Annette Markham, and Ms. Richardson. Our teachers showcased the best of CCS. Jarvisburg Elementary School. Jarvisburg had a very successful book fair. Thank you to all the families who came out to the event to support our media center. Our PTA fundraiser with OBX Popcorn was done well. Funds will be used to support upcoming dates at the school. We celebrated Custodian Appreciation Day this month too. JES is blessed to have Ms. Terry, Mr. Monty, and Mr. Kyle keeping our buildings clean and safe. We appreciate them for all they do.
I'll continue the reports with JP Knapp Early College. JP Knapp 10th and 11th graders participated in the annual job shadowing event on October 18th and 19th. Job shadowing is an authentic learning experience established in connection with their own academic seminar curriculum. Students secured their own job shadowing placement based on their career interests and will be reflecting on their experience in future seminar lessons. For Knott's Island Elementary School, it has been a very productive early fall on the island. We have recently had a very successful book fair, which the students always enjoy. Our second grade class competed in the Sundogs math competition for the Northeast North Carolina and took third place overall. In addition, Victor from Mrs. Cloud's class placed second overall. We are very proud of our students' effort in math. Next week is Red Ribbon Week and will be filled with different activities and special days all week long. Moyog Elementary School. The Moyog Elementary School Fall Book Fair is wrapping up this week, ending on Fall Festival Night, which is this Friday, October 22nd, from 5 to 8 p.m. Students could come dressed in their Halloween costumes for some trick-or-treating fun with their teachers, as well as inflatables, food trucks, and more. Moyock Middle School. Moyock Middle School is currently wrapping up the 9 weeks and starting the process to begin Student Council Government, or STUCO, and clubs in November on early release Fridays. Student surveys have helped us gather data to indicate which clubs hold the most interest for our Bulldogs. We're enjoying our school book fair until October 21st and finalizing our Socktober sock collection through our FBLA club. The excitement and spirit days of Red Ribbon Week begin Monday, October 25th. Charbrough Elementary School. Charbrough had a very successful Title I back-to-school night. We appreciate all the parents who attended our event in support of our teachers in school. During that same week, we also held a successful and exciting book fair for our students. This Friday, our PTO is hosting our first ever trunk or treat event for Charborough families. We hope to see all of our families from 5 to 7 this Friday night.
Thank you. Thank you, Daniel and Albert. I appreciate it and appreciate you being here and updating us on all the schools. Christy Hodges, if you would come forward. She is the Director of Curriculum and Instruction, and she's doing a great job.
Good evening, Madam Chair, Madam Vice Chair, board members, student board members, and Superintendent Dr. Lutz. I am most excited to introduce the instructional coaching team to you. Instructional coaches wear many hats, and one of them is that of a parent. Diane Davenport could not be with us tonight as she is coaching her daughter's volleyball game. They are in a 7 o'clock playoff game, and we wish them well. With us, we have Christy Fields, Beth Lavoie, Helen Taylor, and Lynette Warden. This evening, you will hear from each coach as they'll share our current work regarding Year 1's implementation of the Curricular Strategic Plan. We will be happy to answer questions at the end of our presentation.
Good evening. How are you all?
Good evening.
So as instructional coaches, you know that we support teachers in lots of different ways. So just to showcase a few of our functions throughout the last couple months as new instructional coaches and throughout the buildings. One of those is through data-driven leadership. We help teachers kind of support and analyze their data and start thinking about next instructional steps for their students. Many of our students across the district this week just finished up NC check-ins in grades 3 and up, so we're going to be helping teachers to kind of analyze that data, provide question stems to help them unpack those results to move those teachers forward with supporting their students. We also support curriculum planning. Instructional coaches have led teams of teachers in pacing guide work over the summer and into this school year, as well as the creation of unit assessments across multiple levels. We also help teachers with alignment to our curricular strategic plan. We also help with observations and feedback. We provide supportive observation. We conduct walkthroughs in the buildings and are currently working with Weston Kieschnick to coach and collaborate with the team. And finally, we also help to support professional learning. That's for ourselves and for our teachers. We plan and facilitate professional learning communities at both the school and district level. We also coach teachers on a needs basis, providing one-to-one support. An example of a day in the life of an instructional coach would include walkthroughs in the building to visit classrooms to observe teaching and learning, collaborating with teachers to provide individualized support and answer specific questions, conducting PLCs where we provide intentional professional development, and working closely with the administrators in each building to support overall school improvement.
Thank you.
Good evening. Our Year 1 work, go ahead.
Excuse me a minute. Can y'all tell us your names?
I'm sorry. Yes, I'm Beth Lavoie. Helen Taylor. Thank you. Our Year 1 focus, our work this year, we are creating collaborative communities through professional learning communities, which we also refer to as PLCs. Thank you. Our weekly curriculum support is a range of support. As Helen was just referring to, we do individual conferences with teachers as well as grade level meetings, professional learning communities, and district departmentalized cohorts once a month. Our focus is John Hattie's instructional strategies. He's a researcher that has researched over 250 instructional strategies involving 300 million students. And he found that certain strategies can have a greater impact on student learning than others, and they can result in learning acceleration. And many of our students, as we know, have experienced a learning loss through the pandemic. So we're focusing on intentional instructional strategies that can lead to learning acceleration. With coaching and collaboration, we've been working with Weston Kieschnick, and he is the author of the book Bold School. He's been working with the coaches and administrators doing walkthroughs and helping us identify instructional strategies that are already in place in our classrooms and giving us an opportunity to help coach those teachers to make great even greater. We've been having intentional data conversations. As Helen was just saying, we just finished with the NC check-ins, and we're excited to get hold of that data. But we're looking at data, and we're using what we have in conversations with teachers and administrators, and we're using what we see to provide feedback. And as we provide feedback, we're monitoring student learning. And then we're seeing what next. We're always looking to see where should we go next, and we're using that data and those conversations to make a plan of where to go next. We also plan and facilitate district PLCs, and we have those once a month. There are 19 different groups of educators that meet once a month, and they collaborate and share ideas with the assistance of one of the coaches or one of the teacher leaders in the district. And this leads me to the quote that you see on the screen. The most valuable resource that all teachers have is each other. Without collaboration, our growth is limited to our own perspectives. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, I'm Chris Fields, and I will be discussing with you our role with beginning teachers, our BTs. Oh, Lynette, did I jump ahead of you? I apologize. I was so excited.
You all in this conversation, so that is how spirited these instructional coaches
That's
are.
right.
I'm Lynette Warden, and I'm going to speak to some of the surveys that were sent out to staff, because surveys are important even on our end to get feedback from teachers on the work that we're doing. So one of the questions that was asked was, how have you been positively impacted by having an instructional coach in your building? So here are some of the quotes. Our instructional coach has demonstrated activities that we have been able to effortlessly incorporate into our lesson plans. She has also provided us with support and help with those questions. It has been nice having a designated instructional coach to help roll out and support the district curricular plan. Our PDs have allowed us to think about our teaching practices, and having that time to do that is, I think, very instrumental for teachers. The instructional coach has helped to create uniformity in the messages being delivered between grade levels and teams. She is the bridge between teachers and admin without the teachers feeling their interactions are evaluated by her. When we have an instructional question or concern, we are able to process and discuss what the district has to offer and what expectations are set. Now, Chris may come speak.
I will say part of being an instructional coach is being flexible and just being able to roll
That's
with
right,
whatever
that's
scenario
right.
comes in front of you, so maybe that was planned. Okay. So now I will be talking to you about our work with BTs. And as you see with our quote here, students deserve great teachers, and teachers deserve the support they need to become great. I think we could all say that working with the beginning teachers has probably been one of the most beneficial parts of our roles this year. The beginning teachers, as you can see on our screen, we have 3 different phases of the beginning teachers. You have BT1s, our first year, and there are 24 of them, BT2s, 16, and then finally our BT3s, which there are 8. I think that we can all say that, you know, when we first got into this position, that we wondered, well, what are we going to be doing at different spots in different places? And we knew we'd be working with teachers, but the beginning teachers, when we met them this year, we realized just how important our roles would be. So I think at the beginning, they were just shell-shocked and kind of, you know, deer in the headlights. What do we do? How do we move forward? And our role was to show them what to do, from simply logging into PowerSchool, finding the lounge, figuring out how to put grades in. Very simplistic roles, but we were there as a face and a continuing touchstone that they could refer to get the answers that they needed. And then now we're in a place, fortunately, that we are helping them with curriculum and instruction. And we know last spring there were conversations about providing the support for them to be successful. And so at this stage in the game, we were able to provide that insight and guidance to look at their classrooms, see where their students are, how can we help them, and help them not only see the growth of the students, but the growth of themselves so that they feel successful and confident enough to move forward.
Thank you.
This diagram showed that we started with a vision, one that brought about a curricular strategic plan and 2.5 instructional coaches. Our vision was grounded in the goal of supporting teachers in the area of curriculum and instruction. In the spring of 2021, we assessed district needs through listening sessions with our focus groups and administration interviews. The curricular strategic plan was finalized and formally introduced at convocation in August. Currently, we are in the green and light blue areas, where we are implementing the strategic plan, ensuring our teachers have the necessary support to be successful. As a team of coaches, we also are a professional learning community. Our PLCs allow us time to be strategic in our planning. Additionally, for us to provide support effectively as coaches, we must continue to learn as well. We use our time together to research best practices and theories, discuss coaching strategies, reflect a lot, and create lessons so that our work across the district is valued, cohesive, and aligned. At this time, I'd like to take the opportunity to thank you, the Board of Education, for supporting this vision, as well as the county commissioners. Tonight, we spoke to you about year one of the curricular strategic plan. It is a 3 to 5 year plan, and our end goal is to have a full-time instructional coach in all of our schools. In looking at the response, as Lynette mentioned in our survey, we asked, what would be the benefit of having an instructional coach in the building more than 2 days a week? I think this one sums it up pretty perfectly. The kids would have more support because I would have more support. Thank you for allowing us to talk tonight about what we do. I am very proud of my team and the work that we're doing, and I thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Hodges.
Madam Chairman, I have a couple questions.
Yes, could we open it up to questions, Ms. Hodges?
Absolutely, I'm going to bring them right
Dr.
up.
Dobney?
I would like to know what grade levels and subjects each of you deal with.
I support K-5, all subject areas.
At all schools?
At 2 and then another, 3. 3 schools is where I support.
What schools?
I'm physically at Moyock and Scarborough, and then I also support Knott's Island.
Okay.
And I support K-5, all subjects, and I am physically at Jarvisburg and Griggs, and I support Central as well.
Okay.
I support 9 through 12 primarily at CCHS, but I am also available for NAP for any questions or concerns or feedback.
Okay, I mainly support 5th grade science teachers in all schools, and I also have a couple teachers at Knott's Island and Central that I'm working with. I also work with science teachers at Currituck County High School and JP Knapp. And did I forget?
Wow.
I think that's it.
You're the science lady.
Right? And both middle schools. I forgot to say the middle schools. And then Diane, who couldn't be here tonight, is working at Currituck County Middle School and Moyock Middle School. Every subject level there as well, which if you've been in a middle school, that's very intense. having to delve into that curriculum with so many different subject areas.
I just, did you have more questions?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, me.
And a couple comments. What would be the benefit of instructional coaches in every school? I'll tell you what the benefit is. When our student achievement was one of the top 3 school districts in the state, we had an instructional coach at every school. That's the benefit of it, and hopefully we can get to that point someday.
I was at Moyoc then.
Next, you mentioned that you support teachers. Sometimes you do walkthroughs. Sometimes you actually go in and observe. My question is, do you check where the teacher should be in their pacing guide before you go into the class to observe?
I think mine is probably a little easier because I focus on science, so I'm definitely looking. Some principals have given me access to plan books so I can look and see what they're teaching at that particular time. So before I go in there, I'm able to go into those standards to see what they're teaching at that time.
Okay. And I guess the last comment would be, you mentioned vision earlier. When I used to teach administrative classes, I used to tell the prospective principals, I said, you need to be careful because there's a fine line between a vision and a hallucination. But looking at your vision, it looked very well grounded, very well achievable, so I applaud you on that. And that's it.
I just wanted to say thank you to Ms. Hodges and all of our instructional coaches. I have been, as you know, I'm in the schools every month, and I'm seeing these ladies and Diane in the schools and in the classrooms and conferencing and working with the teachers, and it's I'm glad to have it. And I was one of those teachers that had a curriculum coordinator at Moyoc Elementary.
That's because we had a good superintendent then.
I believe she's sitting out in the audience.
That we
if I'm
had
not mistaken.
that we had enough money
Yeah,
in our
yeah,
budget, thank goodness at that time, that we could afford it. So I was very fortunate that we had enough money to do that.
We were too.
Ms. Rose?
I have some questions too.
I have one too.
I noticed that you said you're physically in some buildings, but we support Knott's Island and Central. So we don't go to Knott's Island and Central?
I don't want to do all the talking, but for example, I'm actually planning to go to Knott's Island in the next, I guess, couple weeks to speak with the 5th grade science teacher. So we meet virtually a lot.
Okay.
So we do it that way, but I will be going into the building. We actually spoke to administrator today just to kind of gauge that. But we meet, I meet with them once every other week virtually.
Okay.
And now that the check-in data is coming in, Helen and I will be looking at that check-in data pretty closely, and then we'll be reaching out to make contact.
So when you talk about meeting with them, is this like during their planning period? Is that when you're physically with the teachers during planning?
Yes.
How many,
Yes.
every day, not every day, one day a week?
1 day a week.
One day a
Yes,
week.
we conduct our PLCs once a week, and then we're available to meet with the teachers during their planning on the other day that we're in the building.
Okay. Well, I'm tickled we've got you all too. And, I'm hearing lots of positive things as well. And I don't even know if this is a Christie question or not, but I am hearing some concerns on teachers with the TRCs. And it's not the teachers with doing the work, it's the amount of time. What has changed with their TRCs this year versus last year?
That is a fair question. It's a great question, and I hope I can answer it for you. So when we moved from to Dibbles 8, the state took away TRC. And so the district would have to purchase that, which we certainly could have. But what TRC does is it's a program where students get on the computer and then it scores it. Instead, we wanted to go back to running records. And so running records gives us the same results that TRC does. But the advantage of running records is you have a teacher that's sitting beside a student
listening to that student read, making some evaluative judgments based on their reading, and then taking that, whatever they find, and creating next steps for that student. So what we're doing is providing instruction on how to take a running record.
I remember running records.
Yes.
And then I remember TRCs. But the concern is they used to spend about 2 weeks. I know when you get in second and third grade, it's longer passages, and it takes a good amount of time. And the concern is they're spending 3 weeks now with the assessment that used to take 2. Mm-hmm. So they're concerned about not having that extra instructional time to implement what they've learned in the assessment. But
it is a valid concern.
Yeah. Okay. Mm-hmm. Could we look at getting that again, or is that?
That's what I'm hearing, though, is that was intentional.
It was.
Okay.
It was.
Okay.
So the state did not.
Not a money thing, then.
It is not.
Okay.
When we actually had Dr. Lutz and I had conversations about purchasing it, but when we consulted our literacy specialist in the district, they truly recommended that we move more into the running records, because what happens is, as a teacher who then does follow up work with that student, they know the student a little bit better through the running records.
And we are not the only county that has gone that route either. This was not a cost savings. This was about being able to meet our students and get the best data that we could.
So the commissioners gave us new positions this year. Have we filled? I mean, we've got, this is it. We can't have any more. This is it.
These ladies
There's
are
no
it,
more
right?
money? Because we want to get more, one
That's
in each
correct.
school.
So we'll keep working towards that. They wanted to see how we do with 2.5, and we had asked for 5, and that was pretty much our only further ask was 2.5 more coaches. That 5 was on the table, but they said, hey, start with this, bring back your data, show how this is working, improving our schools, and we'll revisit it.
And we're appreciative of that.
Yes, that was my question. How do we chart our success with so many moving curriculum coordinators moving in and out of different schools? I could see if you were in one place and stayed in that one school, whereas hopefully we'll get to that place. But with us moving around, how are we tracking that, our success?
The impact.
Mm-hmm.
So some of this is going to be qualitative, and I'm going to refer back to qualitative being the data. It takes some courage to put out, could you give us some feedback? Mm-hmm. Because you're very vulnerable when you do that. And by and large, the feedback was very positive, and that would be a qualitative piece. Mm-hmm. The quantitative piece comes when we're going to be able to give our NC check-ins throughout the year, and we're going to take that data and we're going to be able to look at, hey, where are weak areas, where are our strong areas, so that we're moving our kids back to that goal of, are all kids getting access to the grade level standards and indicators? And this group right here that's part of their charge. I also wanted to point out that on Fridays, this group plans extensively, and that is something that you don't usually see, and that allows them to be very precise in their work in the buildings. Okay. And so we're not stretching them. And I'm going to go back to an analogy I used with when Christy and a former coach worked together. I stretched them as far as the rubber band would stretch. Mm-hmm. And there's a point where that rubber band will snap. And in this case, what we learned then is that they had come to me and said, hey, we need to plan on Friday so we can be better Monday through Thursday. And so we're continuing to use that model, and Christy provides that support for all of the coaches. So that's that consistency that we're looking for. I hope that's a long answer.
No, but that helps. And then, Christy, we have pacing guides for K-12, correct?
No, ma'am. We have pacing guides for K-8 in all 4 core subject areas.
Okay.
And then and remember, this is year 1 of the curricular strategic plan.
Okay.
And then we have pacing guides for our 4 EOCs at the high school. Mm-hmm. In year 2, our goal is to add to that list at our high school level.
Okay, good. I think that is very helpful to have that information at the teacher's fingertips to be able to use. I think that's priceless. So.
It is, and I think it's real important for you to know as well that those pacing guides, even though the folks standing behind me are a big part of that work, it's our teacher leaders that come in and provide input because they are the ones that are delivering the instructions. So our pacing guides are created by our teacher leaders in the district.
Yes.
And I have to say, I was in 2 schools back-to-back last Wednesday, Thursday. Days run together. But anyway, they were all teaching the same math in the same grades. I came and told Dr. Lutz, and he's like, that makes me so happy.
Me too.
But yeah, they're doing, they're following those pacing guides. So
Good.
And well, actually, my exact question was when you mentioned you were physically in some and available to Knotson and Central. So can they reach out to you at any time and schedule, or is it just a group setting when you meet with those schools?
So when we talk about being at a designated school, because there are 5 of us and there are 10 schools, we had to start at the point where each of our coaches is assigned, with the exception of Chris and Linetti, they're assigned 2 schools each week. Knott's Island and Central are on a needs basis, and I communicate very frequently with Mr. Goins as well as Ms. Ferris, and spoke with Mr. Goins today and set up an arrangement with Linetti to go over there. So ideally, in a year or 2, we'd love to see a full-time coach at both of those schools. We also have, the principals are the instructional leaders also in the building. So we're very comfortable being mindful that Ms. Ferris and Mr. Goins know when it's time to reach out to us and understand that we are supportive and we do go when we're asked to go.
Okay, thank you. And I just wanted to say thank you very much for this presentation. I truly enjoyed it. It was nice seeing exactly what you do and the benefits. And I think it's great, not to call him out, but we have Commissioner McCord here. I hope he enjoyed seeing it too, and really seeing, what good this is doing. And perhaps he can share this presentation information with the other county commissioners.
Thank you.
All right, Ms. Rose?
I just have a couple more questions. I'm sorry.
Okay, Mrs. Rose.
I know you said before when you gave us the last presentation
Yes, ma'am.
that, you had it, we have these pacing guides, there's materials for their lessons. If someone's having trouble with rhyming words in first grade or kindergarten, you talk about giving support. Could they reach out to you and say, look, could you come and help me with a lesson? Is that
Absolutely.
something, not just meeting during planning and saying, we're going to do this and this and this?
Absolutely. So when I talked about wearing many hats, that's the same in the building. So though we do walkthroughs, it might be that we do have a teacher that's willing to step out and say, I need some one-on-one help. It's a little harder with 5 instructional coaches. If you had a full-time coach all week long, you could have a little bit more one-on-one conversations, but our coaches are doing really well meeting teachers who ask for that help. I also want to mention that one of our positions that we added to was Emily Forehand, who's a literacy specialist. And she and Kim Robertson are also working very closely with our K-1-2 teachers in the area of literacy. And so we definitely tap into every resource that we have, and if they need one-on-one coaching, we'll be there.
That's wonderful. I think that the pacing guides and materials at their fingertips is wonderful, and my understanding is that's taking up basically 80% of the time. You're telling them, we need to teach this and this to get the standards covered. But
Yes, ma'am.
20% of the time, they can still use the materials they've used for 10 years and use their professional development, professional opinion to get the job done.
Yeah, they're the experts in the classroom.
Okay. Thank you all very much for
You're
what you're doing.
Christy, how do you work with the other instructional coaches?
Can you clarify when you say?
What specifically do you do to help their performance?
So on, I don't know. Maybe I'll let them answer that question. Would that be fair?
Sure.
She has been instrumental in my role, and this is first year, obviously, as an instructional coach. I spent time as a classroom teacher and as a gifted, but I call her weekly, daily, sometimes just to kind of talk through what's going on in my buildings, how to support a teacher who I can reach out to. She answers anything. She sends emails to us with updated information. She directs us where we need to go. On Fridays, she comes with professional development for us so that we can grow as coaches. She helps us reflect on our own practices. So she's really instrumental in the reason that we're being so successful with teachers in the building.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, let me ask you one question. Have you met with any resistance from anyone?
Any negative surveys?
I think with anything that you do, when you present a united front with things, there's always going to be a few. I have dealt with a few, but then within weeks that you kind of, maybe it was just a bad week. And so I've seen some of those who are a little resistant to some of the things that we were doing in the PLCs come around or stop by the office and be like, hey, can I talk to you? Or hey, can I ask you? So I just think that there's a level of stress on educators across the board, and I don't think
Nowadays.
it's personal.
Yes.
So I just think that we have to be supportive. That's our role, and we have to build those relationships with them in our building so that we can support them with instruction and curriculum for those students.
Yeah, there's definitely stress.
Definitely. So much on their plate.
Yes. Any other questions? Thank you all.
We just have to remember change is hard.
It is hard, yes.
And we're implementing change,
Yes.
but we have to keep the end goal in mind.
That's right.
It's our students' success that we have to
That's
keep
all
in
that
mind.
matters.
So
That's right. Well,
whatever
thank
we
you
have to
all
do,
for
we'll
being
keep
here and
doing.
everything you're doing. Ms. Hodges, hats off to you and your team, and we really appreciate it. And I hope that all your hard work, I know it's going to pay off, and so I'm looking forward to seeing that success, in the upcoming months and years to come. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All righty. Our one and only Ms. Virginia Arrington is going to come to the podium to sing a song.
Want me to sing a song? I was going to say
We've got a karaoke machine in the back. And we're going to.
That's not helping. That's a tough act to follow.
That's right. No.
When people say, "Oh goodness, here comes the COVID lady."
Right, the COVID lady.
Anyway, good evening, Madam Chair, Board of Education, Dr. Lutz. I'm going to actually share information on two different things this evening. The first being our information about mental health legislation and training requirements surrounding that. At the beginning of the year, North Carolina State Board of Education tasked every school district with implementing a mental health policy and a training program for all teachers. And the first two slides you see will was information that I presented also to the staff as an introduction to their training requirements. So in addition to what it says in the State Board of Education's policy manual, the plans should include a mental health training program that's provided at no cost to employees and contains at least 6 hours of content training for staff. And the staff members that have to participate in that training are those staff members that have direct contact with students, teachers, teacher assistants, counselors, nurses, school secretaries. Those are the folks that have to complete the training. And so the district mental health team vetted several resources, and we decided to go with a program called Vector Training. We get that service through our insurance, and it is self-paced videos that teachers can go through and meet the requirements. So we previewed the requirements, the videos, and there are 10 videos that staff members have to watch, and they range anywhere from about 20 minutes. Most of them are 20 to 30 minutes. There's one that's 90 minutes and one that's 120 minutes. So we have also given them the deadline of December 17th to complete that information or complete that training requirement. And at this time, we have 444 staff members that are required to complete the training. 116 of them have completed the training, meaning they watched 100% of the videos. And 85% of the staff members have completed between 60 and 90% of the training to date. So some of the videos include child abuse, substance abuse, and sex trafficking. So that is what I wanted to share with you about what teachers are doing or staff members are doing with regards to the mental health legislation.
That's just for our new.
No, that's
No,
for
it's for
everyone.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am. So the state said that all staff members in their first year, this first year, had to complete 6 hours of training, and then there will be 2 hours of follow-up training each additional year.
Okay.
So this year is easy. Everybody has to do 6 hours.
Yeah.
Next year will be a little bit more complicated because new staff will have to do 6, and then everybody else will have to do 2.
Just record keeping.
Yes, ma'am.
And this is all new this year.
Correct.
It's kind of like continuing ed,
Kind
but
of.
a lot of companies,
I wonder
have
if-
that. It's very similar.
Wonder if it
And
came
our-
about because of COVID.
Yes, because there are there is a greater need for support in different areas when we're talking about social emotional health and mental health. And so it did come out of that, and it is a lot of good information, but along with other things that we're tasked with doing, it's a lot, but teachers have jumped on board, staff members have jumped on board and are completing that training.
Are you in charge of keeping track of when they've completed these, or is each school?
Yes, ma'am. So teachers will earn CEUs for
That
their
was my
credit
question.
for completing it. And so they do get certificates at the end of each video, but they do not have to print them out and turn them in, and building administrators don't have to keep track of that. I can actually run a report periodically and see the progress of all the different staff members. So the record keeping this year is fairly simple.
And it's across the board. It doesn't really differentiate whether you're at the high school or middle school or elementary. It's kind of uniform for all staff, right?
Yes. I mean, it's pretty basic information. So, for example, with the, like the child abuse, it talks about what is child abuse, kinds of child abuse, that we're mandatory reporters, and those kinds of things. So it's pretty, at this level, it's just pretty basic, being able to recognize some things, to be able to call in additional supports if needed.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so now for the joyous COVID updates. So I'm just presenting this information again. Some of it's review and some of it's additional information. So to go back to the beginning of the year, as we know, August 23rd to September 2nd was that period of time when we started school, and students and staff were not required to wear a mask. So that line item is as is, and it was presented before. September 7th through the 10th is what I'm calling that transition week. So that week was the week we went to mask, but we were still, the quarantine numbers were still a little bit high during that period because we knew there was going to be some effects of some close contacts and stuff bleeding into that week from when we didn't wear masks. And then from September 13th to October 15th, where masks were required, we've had 88 positives reported and 161 quarantines. So you can see where we're at with that. And prior to today, since we've been tracking, prior to today, there were 2 days where we had 0 positives and 0 quarantines, and I'm happy to say today is the 3rd day with 0 positives and 0 quarantines. So we are excited about that. Yeah. We're keeping more kids in school. Just a little bit more information about diagnostic testing. This information you've seen before. Just wanted to remind you that diagnostic testing is the testing that we are doing when students are either symptomatic or whether they've been determined as a close contact. Again, we began September 13th with that. and just the procedures and the parent information that we gave out to that. So to date, we've had 1,205 staff and students that have signed up to participate in the diagnostic. Those numbers are continuing to grow because, as we suspected, some folks have not signed up for the testing until they were in a situation where they needed it. And so that's where we are with that. As of October 18th, when I pulled the numbers, 344 tests have been given. And of those 344 tests, 49 tests have been positive. And again, we have to look at that comparatively because the 344 were tested because they were either symptomatic or they were a close contact. And then with the company, the company usually picks up the testing sometime right after school, usually between 3 and 6 p.m. And so the average turnaround time is an average of 9 hours. So from the time they pick up the test till the time that a parent is notified of the test results, the average is 9 hours. And so it just kind of speaks to the fact that we opted into this so that we could have students in school as much as possible. So we are able to get students back in school more quickly because we have the availability of the test and because of the turnaround time in getting the test. We've had parents who have gotten a test result. You know, we called, they picked them up, got the test. The next morning, they've had the test results by 10 p.m. and they're like, get dressed, we're going to school.
Right, that's right.
So it has been helpful in that way.
Okay. Mr. Sedona that was here tonight to speak, I wanted you to explain it. You can probably explain it better than I can. The reason we require mask, even though it's a local county decision to wear masks, there's a reason why. If you could just tell him, you know, why that is, why Governor Cooper's with us being in compliance, the reason.
Yes, ma'am. So the quarantine restrictions have not changed, and so to be determined a close contact, it's defined as being within 6 feet of someone for 15 minutes, and that's cumulative. So it doesn't mean I sit next to you for 15 minutes in math class. It means I talk to my teacher for 2 minutes, and then I'm in small group with her for 10 minutes, and then, you know, I sit beside her at lunch for another 15 minutes. So it's cumulative over the day.
Right.
And so because of those restrictions and guidelines, if a student was found to be positive at school, if we got the information back that they were positive, we're looking at a section of the class. So, for example, in an elementary class, we're looking at the students that sit in front of them, diagonally to them, and beside them. And it's really more about the close contacts than it is the positive person. So, you know, for every person that's positive, we could be sending home anywhere between 3 and 7 people that would have to be home for 10 days.
Right. And with them wearing masks, if all students have masks on, even if a child tests positive, the other students do not have to quarantine for 10 days.
Unless they have symptoms.
Correct.
Yes.
Both parties have to be wearing masks. So when we say everybody's wearing the mask, then if you sit next to me and you're positive, unless I'm exhibiting symptoms, I do not have to go home.
Right. Okay. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Any questions for Ms. Arrington?
Well, do we have any idea or any, you know, what is it we're looking for? We can't wear masks forever. Dr. Lutz kindly reports to us every day, faithfully. And I can tell you, this one's going to give a thumbs up, and that one's, and I'm going to give a smiley face when it's good. But every day he reports to us, and so we're staying on top of it. But just like this week has been good, you know, it really has. We haven't had that many positives. We've had very few quarantines. You know, I know, like the other board members, am in favor of making mask optional. I mean, ages 12 and up now have had the option of getting vaccinated. Our faculty has been able to get vaccinated if they want it. I mean, I'm sure there's some folks who maybe can't take the vaccine, but what are we looking at? When can we, when can we try again?
Aren't we
Myra?
supposed to evaluate the information monthly?
Yes.
And decide at that point?
So the way things are written with the quarantine rules, we saw how many kids we quarantined
The first week
out of the gate. The first week of school, we quarantined, I think, 170 kids, if I recall.
For 10 days.
For
Are
10
we seeing less positives now than we did the first week of school?
We are, definitely, but I think we're still in a place where on like Monday and Tuesday, it's like we have more because of, you know,
weekend.
things that happen on the week. We go to grandma's house on the weekend. You know, we do different things on the weekend. We all do different things on the weekend. And then as we get closer to Friday, you know, the numbers seem to be a little bit lower. So I mean, I think we just kind of have to look at overall the trends, and weekly, are we at some sense of stability with lower numbers or zero numbers? Because
I guess that was my question. Do we have an idea that we're shooting for before we try again?
I like the numbers that we will see, but then we'll do our cumulative numbers at the end of the week, and they won't look or feel as good as some of what we've seen. We're also running into that continuing issue with the biggest concern I would have at this point in time would be the effect it would have on our extracurricular programs that get hit pretty hard when they deviate from the protocol that we put in place. And I would worry that would severely disrupt the high schools and potentially band as well, and our middle school sports programs.
And
not that is just a byproduct that we would feel very quickly, and I think there would be a lot of emails and calls. I too look forward to the day we can remove the mask as well. I mean, it is hard, and you mentioned the speech impediment and difficulty hearing, and you know, to teaching. And Miss Rose and I talked earlier, teach phonics and to enunciate properly. It's difficult with the mask. So I think we can start, and I've made some notes here to meet with Miss Arrington and our principals and start to have some creative ways to eliminate some of it is difficult to hear. I mean, gentleman who presented this afternoon to us, I was struggling speaking through a mask, and that was an adult, not a young child. Mm-hmm. So I do want to explore how can we do this and be creative, especially as the numbers continue to go down.
I think with phonics in the lower grades, maybe K1, 2, they maybe have 5 or 10 minutes of oral phonics instruction. And, when you're teaching a child to make the L sound, it's the formation of the mouth. I mean, they need to see that. I think maybe we should look at letting them have some time without mask.
Well, and I think...
And Spanish, foreign language. How in the world are they learning with a mask?
Right. Well, and I think we can be creative in some things. So, for example, teachers that are teaching young children and they're working with their phonics, there's lots of different options as far as face shields are concerned. Before they were just, yes. And now they're like,
Are we wearing face shields?
We are not at this time, but I think we could look at something like for phonics instruction. For that period of time, a teacher could wear a face shield instead of a mask versus wearing a mask all day.
Well, and that's great, but the kids do need to practice too, so, maybe we just need to, whatever. I just thought I'd bring that up. I know that, I believe it's Hendersonville, North Carolina, has adopted a policy where they're removing the mask for phonics instruction. So.
Do we have any data on speech, as it was spoke about? Has the, I guess,
speech instruction,
right? Has it changed significantly in the past year or so, or with the younger kids, particularly kindergarten?
They've been creative on how we're delivering. That's more on one-to-one, and you can keep your spacing. So it's a little bit different. And there's I know that Ms. Miller also employed, it's one of the success areas we had with telework. So we were able to work with speech through telework as well. So I know that doesn't necessarily answer that question, but we have not had the impact there that we thought because speech is a one-to-one. It's
And they
not in
had,
group, so we can.
They had the shields, and
Yeah.
Miss Miller got everyone those shields, so when they worked one-to-one, neither person wore a mask because they had the shield up between them.
Okay, so we'll just keep monitoring things.
Okay.
And you can reach out to Henderson, but let's see what they're doing.
Okay, sure. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Arrington.
Do we have to take
Okay.
action on
Yeah, we do.
And this is an action item. Do I have a motion to approve mask, not approve mask? Do I have a motion from the floor?
Before we do an action, we are going to start the process of looking into maybe moving forward. I mean, at least.
That you make that into a motion.
Oh, okay. Can we make a motion to start moving forward and trying to find a plan to remove mask or make mask optional? I'm sorry.
Just for phonics instruction and Spanish, or?
Yeah, do you want it to be specific for phonics or speech
Still
or?
have to vote on the other, don't we?
Yeah.
I think it's mandatory that we vote.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, well, okay, well, I just want to give people some type of notion that it's just not something we're taking an action on every time and and we're not really thinking about it or trying to do something or work with what I know our community wants.
Okay. All right, I'd like to make a motion that we continue to wear masks, but go ahead and look into not wearing masks during special instructions, such as what Ms. Rose brought up tonight.
Spanish and
Spanish and phonics, and I second that.
Okay. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Dr. Matt Lutz?
Okay, we had a field trip. Coach Rubino took the cross-country team to Kernersville. It was a great idea, I think. She was prepping her team for the cross-country state championships, but they were able to take a trip over and run the course, and hopefully they are successful
Great.
when the state championships occur. We also have an FFA competition headed to Sanford, North Carolina on the 12th of November.
Okay, good. Do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
so moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Consent agenda is approved. Information items. We have a special joint meeting with Currituck County Commissioners on October 27th, 2021. That meeting will be held at the Cooperative Extension Center at 5 p.m. We have our work session next month, November 18th, 2021, at the Knapp Professional Learning Center, and that starts at 4 p.m. And then following that, we'll meet here for our regularly scheduled November Board of Education meeting, and that will be held at 6:30 p.m. Ms. Peters, would you like to give us some comments for the end of the meeting?
Well, I just wanted to, talk about, I attended the homecoming last weekend, and I think as I was speaking with Daniel here and Yvette, it was just so exciting that you could just feel the excitement in the air. I heard from numerous people how big the crowd was. The student section was they were always so much fun and cheering us on. And great job to the CCH, the band, and with Moyock Middle and Currituck Middle joining them. That was really exciting. That was fun to watch. And I know our football team, they did a great job. It was a big win for them. Our cheerleaders did a great job. I was standing in front of them, and of course, they were so excited when their captain of the cheer team, Miss Diaja Kalihazi, was our homecoming queen. So congratulations to her, and the king was AJ Bartolata. He was my person helping me. So I just wanted to say, it was a great community event, I think. I know at the last minute the dance was a go, and I know a lot of the community pitched in, parents, staff, just a lot of people did things to help make that great, and I heard it was a lot of fun. It was just a great night, so thank you to everyone who did that. And thank you again, always, to our parents, students, staff. As we're going forward, we are having good days, I think, with the COVID and the quarantines and keeping our kids healthy and safe and in school. So I do think that that's always something to pat ourselves on the back about. And I just, hopefully be an exciting year for Halloween. So I do hope all the kids have a fun time. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Peters. Ms. Rose?
I was able to visit some of the schools this month and talk with some teachers and administrators. I've talked with some parents and some students, and lots of good things going on in their schools. I had the opportunity to attend the North Carolina School Board Law Conference recently and found that to be very informative. I did pop in at the homecoming dance, and the kids were having a great time. I want to give a shout out to Dr. Durham, the CCHS athletic boosters, the SGO, and the community members who donated money to make that possible. I think it was like they had about 2 weeks to pull it together. Thanks to all of our hardworking faculty and staff members. Whether you are a teacher or an assistant or an administrator or a bus driver or a nurse, maintenance, whatever, it takes all of you to keep that wheel turning. Our bus drivers are currently being recognized for their hard work and dedication by the Moyoc Women's Club. Hats off to that group for supporting our bus drivers. Athletic events. Dr. Lutz, would you clarify, do all faculty and staff members get in free at athletic events?
They did for the homecoming dance.
Okay.
And we are for the game. They did it at that particular game. I know that's the first time we opened it up to that, but Mr. Parker and I have begun discussions about how we can make that work.
Okay.
At the same time, we do need a gate, and so we have to definitely put some parameters around what that looks like.
Well, long ago, when Dr. Dobney was superintendent,
Had money.
we encouraged faculty and staff members to not just go to the high school football games, but middle school, and we were admitted at no charge. Now, our family members had to pay.
I think those are some of those parts need to be clarified.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. Volunteers. I received an email this week saying I could get a background check if I wanted to volunteer again at Moyoc Elementary School, so I filled that out. So parents, community people, if you'd like to volunteer in our schools, all you have to do is contact the school you'd like to volunteer at. We're opening it back up to volunteers. We need you. Please come and support our students.
Did you get the results back yet?
I'm good. I'm good. I got the other email. JP Knapp PTA. I did see on Facebook that they are having a fall Spartan market, I believe, coming up on the 23rd this weekend from like
Saturday,
9 to
I
4.
think, yeah.
They're having crafts and all sorts of things trying to raise money, flea market as well. And the FBLA there is having on Friday the 29th, kind of like a trick or treat, I think, candy and games, and also a food drive.
Oh, neat.
Asking people to bring canned food for our food pantries, which,
Very important.
folks, that's very important. And the last thing I want to talk about is Macbeth. CCHS Drama Club presenting that the 29th, 30th, and 31st, which I got my invitation to that. I have my tickets. So
You got your popcorn?
yeah, you bring the popcorn. I'll bring the drinks.
Okay, sounds good. Dr. Dobney?
Yes, I'd like to once again congratulate Ms. Popovich for being the Exceptional Children Teacher of the Year. I visited Currituck County Middle School and Currituck County High School and have got some good reports back from principals about the professional development that they're receiving, and they're very appreciative of it. And last, well, Brandy will be interested in this because you highlighted it in your presentation. that 45-minute enrichment block. Back when I was principal 100 years ago at Moyock Elementary, I would go in to observe a class. Here comes some AG kids going to their AG, and then about 10 minutes after that, exceptional children would leave, and then the AG kids would come back, and then the exceptional children kids would come back, and, well, speech and every other exceptionality, and they're missing class, which was mind-boggling to me. So I came up with what was called an enrichment block. That's exactly like what she presented. And the assistant superintendent at that time, Ronnie Capps, who later became superintendent, wrote an article on it, and it was published in the North Carolina School Board Journal. Like I said, probably about 100 years ago.
I didn't realize that we were the pioneers for that. That's awesome.
Oh yeah, well I went around to some different districts and did presentations, on that because it made sense.
It
and
did,
principals
yeah.
were tired of kids coming and going during teachers' classes because the teachers didn't like it because they had to make up the work that the kids missed
Catch 'em up.
for
yeah.
leaving the class.
Well, thank you, Dr. Dobney. Thank you for implementing that. Ms. Kraft?
Yes, I would like to thank our Boy Scout Troop 127 for visiting us tonight. They were here to learn about parliamentary procedure. You're welcome anytime. We're glad to have you. I want to thank Ms. Kelly and Ms. Reynolds for your school presentation spotlight, and Drew for telling us about his making a volcano. Also, Ms. Popovich, I can't wait to go visit her classroom. Yeah. And I also want to recognize Vic Ramsey. He's the tennis coach at the high school and my church pastor also. On his 150 tennis wins, his love of students and the sport shine. There was a great article in the Daily Advance this week about him. So if you see him, congratulate him. He'll tell you, yeah, but I lost 250. But anyway, congratulate him anyway. I did visit all of our schools this last month, including homecoming at the high school and Tuesday night, the volleyball game where the seniors were recognized. And they're going to be playing this Saturday at CCHS for the first round of the state playoffs. I understand it's at 7 o'clock, so we need to get out there and support them. And I just thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Kraft. Dr. Lutz?
Homecoming's been mentioned several times. That was a outstanding event. Definitely an electric atmosphere. Most exciting thing for me was there was such positivity in the air. It was great to see the student section. It was great to see adults cheering the kids. I mean, it was just a really special night here for Currituck County. And also in the spirit of homecoming and making sure, I want to assure the board, the minute we can move forward and take our masks off and get back to even further normalcy, we'll do that. We were, to the best of my knowledge, the only school in the region that had a homecoming dance because we could. So we're going to do everything we can within the boundaries to continue to do good things for our kids and our community. I wanted to point out that we are closing in on 9 weeks of close to normal, minus the mask, and that's been a long time coming. I know that it's quite the start up to school. I like to think that ours was a little less painless because we had our kids back to school last year, but it certainly was different having everybody back. And it's the atmosphere in our buildings can bring a lot of life. It's just very, very positive right now. It's also it's Principal Appreciation Month, and we expect a lot from our principals. They're doing an outstanding job in leading the work, and it's quite it's a challenge. It's a tough position, and they're doing a wonderful job. It's also Career and Construction Month, and I'm going to conclude with a couple of announcements. It's only October. However, graduation announcements have to be ordered and printed. So, to that end, JP Knapp's graduation ceremony will occur on May 20th, and Currituck County High School's graduation will take place on May the 26th, which is a Thursday evening prior to Memorial Day weekend. It was the same as last year. That was a good That was a very successful graduation, and nobody wants to do that on Friday night, Memorial Day weekend. Long way out, but I want to make those couple of announcements.
Great. That's wonderful. All right. Well, thanks to everyone for being here tonight. I really appreciate it. A little bit later than what we were trying to get you out so you could go home and have some R&R before the day starts again tomorrow. I echo all the sentiments of my fellow board members. We're doing great things. Check the calendar online for all the events that are coming up. It's a busy time of year. It's my favorite time of year, fall. Get out there, get some sunshine, some just fall weather. Just take a walk on the beach or a walk in the woods, whatever it may be, to just enjoy this weather before it gets cold. And I thank you again for being here. And now I'd like to ask for a motion to adjourn the meeting.
So moved.
Okay, have a second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Meeting is adjourned. Thank you.